Last time on the Nomad sailor, we had a really rough passage on the way to Falmouth.
And it's raining.
Had a small wander around the town before checking out of the country and finishing off the final preparations to cross the Bay of Biscay. The Biscay trip has begun. We've left Falmouth. We've got the Armada with us, we've got SV Tonic on this side, Yacht Talisman on this side. I've got a little escort. And we're looking good. The start of the Biscay trip consisted of large waves but really light winds, which took some time to get used to, and it didn't help that the autopilot failed at the start of the trip, which meant me have to hand steer the entire way. I'm just about to start my night shift. Dad's been on the helm for a majority of the night. It's pretty heavy, we're getting about 20-ish knots of wind. We're doing about, what, 6 knots, 6.5 knots?
6.5, 7 knots.
6.5, 7 knots boat speed. The stars are super bright, but the moon's out tonight as well, which is really nice. Staring into the darkness during the night shift was really strange. I found that my brain tried to make sense of what was going on and almost had visual hallucinations, and sometimes as much as hearing voices. What was even creepier is that my dad also had the exact same thing and heard the same voice. Sirens? Maybe. Wow. Pretty smooth sail today actually. A lot of motoring, a lot of sailing. Talisman is just ahead of us, about half a mile-ish. Condition is meant to be super calm. Everyone's eating and we're doing good. Not too rolly. I'm getting a bit nauseous every now and then because of the waves. Is that too bad?
I've not felt nauseous today because I've not been downstairs. As soon as you go downstairs, life changes.
He was also sick last night.
Yeah.
Oh. It's getting a bit rolling now. As we got further south, you could feel a warm shift in the air, and the sea became a bit clearer and a much more deeper blue. And although the sea was nicer to look at, the rolling waves did not stop. Regardless of taking seasickness tablets every day, we still found ourselves getting really nauseous, especially when going down below. And this meant when it was time for my dad to do the cooking, he had to do as much preparation in the cockpit as possible, because it was just way too rolly to be downstairs during this time. I could tell this stressed him out a lot, but he managed to get it done regardless. When it comes to me and my dad, nothing gets in the way of our food, even the huge rolling waves of the Bay of Biscay. And as unpleasant as the conditions were, it was so worth it. If it meant I could have my dad's signature spicy rice with chickpeas, I would do the Biscay all over again. That was a joke, please, I don't want to do it again. With the mundane task of having to hand steer for 4 days, the days just completely blended together. The extremely loud sound of French fighter jets passing over snapped us awake and back into reality. They were so close, it was unreal. What really made the trip was having the guys from Talisman nearby the entire way. Just having someone by our side on this trip made us feel a lot safer. From random check-ins to see how we were doing, to comparing things we had for lunch, it was really good fun to have you guys with us. And as the sun started to set on what would be the final full day of the Biscay crossing, I started to congratulate ourselves on having quite an uneventful crossing, but unfortunately I spoke a little bit too soon and things took a turn for the worst.
Okay, so we're now being towed.
Literally my hands are shaking.
It was Orcas and they started playing with the boat.
So the last day of the trip was not as glamorous and glorious as I thought it was going to be. Bryn and Jade's boat had a fish net caught in it, and the wind died and they couldn't move anywhere, so they had to call the Coast Guard for assistance. Now, as they're waiting for the Coast Guard, we were circling around them just to make sure they were safe before the Coast Guard approached, and a group of orcas approached their boat and started nudging at the boat, and we were about 50 meters away from the boat, and so then they had to call a mayday, and then the rescue boats come out, and we're now trailing behind them, and they're getting towed into, as opposed to La Coruña, we're now going to La Coruña or Puerto de La Coruña or something like that, I don't know. Bryn and Jade are sorted out. They've pulled into port and they've been safely tied up, and me and my dad are now heading back to where we came from, where the incident happened, trying to get to La Coruña before it gets dark. Into the danger zone we go. Although I made jokes about it, it was actually really scary having to go back to the area where this incident just happened. All of our senses were on super high alert to make sure there was nothing in the water, and everything would scare us, from birds to fishing pots that looked like an orca's fin. The water was dead calm and it was quite foggy, so it was almost like the set of a horror film, just waiting for something to happen. It was a long 9-hour sail to La Coruña, but there was no way I was going to let that get my spirits down. I instead used that time to reflect on exactly what I'd done here. Leaving a perfectly good life behind, being able to wake up and see my family every single day, having fun with my closest friends who I've known for years, to chase a dream that I wasn't even sure myself was possible. Knowing that I wanted to do something different with my life, I came out of my comfort zone, jumping headfirst into a world that I knew absolutely nothing about, where no matter how experienced you are, every day is a new lesson. Every day is a completely new day with different experiences, different places full of different cultures that people go their entire lives without seeing. A father and a son with no background in sailing, bought a boat with no idea how far it would really take them. Constantly pushing each other and driving each other forward to achieve something that would go down in our memories for the rest of our lives. Going completely against the cultural norm, going against what society says we should do with our life. And I know getting to where I am today may seem pretty straightforward, but I couldn't be further from the truth. There were plenty of hardships and issues along the way that really tested my inner strength. From the long string of failures and bad news, to the self-doubt and the emotions of being told that I wasn't good enough to complete this journey, being told the boat wasn't good enough to complete this journey, and it was too old, and it was too small. And against all these odds, we still managed to cross the Bay of Biscay safely without any major issues in this exact same boat. And as the fog finally started to lift, and the sun started to shine through the clouds, it then hit me. We made it!